I wonder what I want to talk about today. Oh yeah, video games. Hey guys, it's me, and I decided to lump June and July together to talk about my pickups over the summer because it's just easier for me, because I have less time doing so many things over the summer. So just doing one video with both June and July lumped together, that makes it easier for me, and it's probably easier viewing for you guys too. Maybe, we'll see. But oh my gosh, before we start, I just want to give a big shout out to one special person in particular, although a bunch of people will appear as special thanks recipients in this video. But the one person I want to give the best thanks to is my buddy Joe, who I seem to talk about a lot, and I should because he goes with me yard sailing most of the time I go. And if it weren't for him, I wouldn't have found what is going to be the final entry in this video, which I will just spoil for you right now. I won't spoil what it is, but I'll spoil what it is to me. The single greatest yard sale find of my entire life. So, congratulations! It's part of this video. I was going to make a separate video for it, but then I would have to exclude it from the pickups video, so whatever. Maybe I'll annotate the video with a bunch of dumb links about it, or maybe I won't do that, or maybe I will just append the title of this video to talk about, also, best pickup ever in this video, or something like that. Either way, let's get started right away. So the first things that I'd like to talk about are kind of small things. I'm not doing these in any particular order with the exception of just one of them, which is what I talked about earlier. That's going to be at the very end of the video. So to start out with, let's just talk about this. This is a translucent or clear case, clear shell, PlayStation 1 controller. How can I tell it's a PlayStation 1 controller? A couple of different reasons, actually. Let me unravel it for demonstration purposes. First of all, and probably the most glaring thing, is this is gray. If this were a PlayStation 2 controller, this would be black. And also, if it were a PlayStation 2 controller, this would say DualShock 2 somewhere on the top of the controller. It doesn't, so it's not. So yeah, this is a PlayStation 1 controller, and I like to collect different controller variants for pretty much any console ever made, so when I came across this at a yard sale with Joe, with a sticker on it that said $5, I immediately asked if they would do it for $1 because it was very hot, and they didn't seem like they were having that much of a good time, so I kind of took advantage of that, asked for $1, and they were like, fine, just take it. And I fine just took it. So, yeah, let's wrap it back up. Wasn't that fun to watch? Next up is another small accessory that I picked up with Joe sometime over the summer. This was probably in June. But I finally got the Wii Zapper, which I didn't have before because I never got it, because I never got Link's crossbow training, and I also never got it separately. So, yes, I never owned it up until recently. As it's just a piece of plastic, it pretty much functions properly. All of the latches that, you set up in order to hit the buttons on the Wii Remote and Nunchuck, they all function just fine. Nobody destroyed this for any reason. So, yeah, I was pretty happy with this pickup. The yard sale we got this at is actually pretty interesting because it was a charity yard sale to raise money for breast cancer awareness, which I fully support. But the box that we found this in had a whole bunch of Wii games in it, and Joe and I were like, how much are your games? And they were like, $1 each, and there were some really, really good games in there. And some GameCube games in there too, including Mario Kart Double Dash, which if you'll remember from one of my previous videos, I was able to pick up a disc, but I had to make myself the box for. So seeing the box in there, I immediately grabbed it and I was like, yes! I'm not going to show that off in this video because I don't really consider that much of a pickup since I just got a box replacement, although I finally did get the official box. And yes, you are hearing me correctly, I only got the box. There was no disc inside the case. And in fact, when Joe and I went through all of those Wii games as well, we found that none of them at all contained their respective games. So we asked them how much they wanted for just the boxes since none of them had the discs in them, and they said, just take them, then, in that case. So Joe and I looked through and we were like, there really aren't any boxes in here that we want, but there were a couple of games that we're looking for, so if we ever come across just the disc, now we have the box to go with it so we can save a little money down the road. So Joe got a few Wii boxes and I got a few Wii boxes for different games. And again, those aren't really worth showing here because they're just the boxes, and maybe if they were super important I would show them, but they're really not. They're just some bit titles. Although Joe did get a box for Mario Kart Wii, so when he comes across a disc of that, he'll finally have it complete. And some of them had the manuals and some of them didn't, but whatever. What I picked up from that yard sale that I actually care about is the Wii Zapper. There it is. Alright, so as you guys know, I am part of Long Island Retro Gaming on Facebook, and every now and again I will come across a deal, and this summer, I guess because it's so hot outside, everyone's having fire sales, which if you don't know what that is, it's where someone's like, okay, I'm going to post a whole bunch of stuff that I have for sale, and I'm going to post the price underneath the picture of it, and if you want it, you claim it, and it's yours. You have to buy it, though, if you claim it. That's the rules, them's the breaks. But here's the catch. Everything is significantly lower in price than retail, and sometimes even lower than retail. So I took high advantage of that, because video game collecting is expensive, my dude. So, yeah. So, one of the things that someone was getting rid of in their fire sale was Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Now, I already own Punch-Out! For NES, but that's actually the updated version. This is the original that came out before they lost the license for Mike Tyson and decided not to renew it. There's a whole story on that, and it's not the urban legend that everybody thinks it is. Nintendo just decided not to renew the license, and they made Punch-Out! Featuring Mr. Dream. This is the original Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! For Nintendo, and yeah, this game is usually sort of expensive. It's not terribly expensive, but you know, it's not worth paying $100 million for. So when I saw it at the fire sale, I said, For those of you who don't know, or one of you, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Is a pattern recognition type boxing game for the Nintendo. You play as short and stumpy Little Mac. You may be familiar with Little Mac because of his inclusion in Smash Bros. 4. Well, this is where he originated. He's the main character here. And you fight through a whole bunch of fighters trying to win the title of Best Boxer Supreme, and they're all from different countries, and they all speak in, you know, their own language. Although in this version, they speak in their own language very rarely. In between matches, they'll taunt you, but this is an NES game, so it's all done in text. Sometimes they will speak their own language in text, but most of the time they just speak English. If you've played Punch-Out! Wii, the third game in the Punch-Out! Series, they actually speak, with voice acting, their own languages with no subtitles, which is a fun exercise for anyone who learns languages as a hobby. So yeah, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! It's a great game. Please play it. One of the perks of knowing a lot of people in the video game industry, and when I say that, I don't really mean important people to the industry, just people who sell video games, who are important to the industry, don't get me wrong. But one of the most important things about that, and probably one of the best things, is, you know, I get to become friends with a lot of people, and for that reason, I get treated a little better than most customers. I don't like to take advantage of my friends and their shops and anything like that, but it is really nice when someone is like, yeah, I'll cut you a little bit of a deal. So I was actually able to get a discounted price on this copy of Donkey Kong Jr. for ColecoVision because I have a friend who owns a video game store, and they know I'm a collector, so yeah. Donkey Kong Jr. for ColecoVision. I shouldn't have to explain anything about this game, but it's an arcade port where you play as Donkey Kong Jr., Donkey Kong's son, and you have to rescue Donkey Kong Sr. from the clutches of the evil Mario. You heard that correctly. Mario's a bad guy in this title, and I think this is the only title where Mario is a bad guy, which makes it stand out among most titles that have Mario in them. I also believe this was the first game to give Mario his name, Mario, because in the original Donkey Kong, he was just called Jumpman. So, yeah, this game is pretty important. And although there exist many ports of Donkey Kong Jr., my favorite being the one for the Nintendo Entertainment System, this is actually a pretty good port, the only drawback being that you have to play it with a ColecoVision controller, but ColecoVision had some damn good graphics for the time, for pre-NES era. So I definitely recommend this if you're looking for a pre-NES era arcade port. It's pretty good. As I've discussed many times in these pickup videos, I love Tetris. And, this pickup video is going to be no different because I'm going to talk about Tetris 2 for Game Boy. I have currently in my possession every version of Tetris 2 that was ever released. There was one for NES, SNES, and Game Boy, and for the longest time I did not have it on Game Boy, so bada bing bada boom, Tetris 2 on Game Boy. Tetris 2 plays nothing like the original Tetris. It is no longer a make lines and they disappear and see how often you can do that until you win sort of deal. Tetris 2 is, alright, this game has 80 stages, you can actually beat the game, it's incredibly frustrating and incredibly long, but here's how to do it. There's a whole bunch of blocks at the bottom of the board, and some of them are flashing, and most of them are not flashing, and it's a color matching game. You get blocks in the style of normal Tetris pieces, or tetriminos, I believe they're called, or tetraminos, I don't remember. And some even weirder shapes that weren't in the original Tetris, and each one is broken into 3 different colors, yellow, green, and red. Although in Game Boy, it's more like solid white, solid gray, and checkerboard to differentiate the patterns, since there's no color. And you have to match 3 or more of the same color in a line, horizontal or vertical, and then it'll disappear. And the object is to get rid of all of the flashing blocks at the bottom. And yeah, that's how you do it. It's actually pretty fun, but it's not really a Tetris game, which I guess is why most people probably haven't heard about it. So there it is, Tetris 2. Have fun. I went yard sailing a lot this lifetime, including this summer. And I was out with my friend Julie, and we were looking for a couple of video games, as per the usual. And we went to this one yard sale, and I saw a bunch of CDs just in little plastic cases, like floppy plastic cases, and I was like, oh man, disc-only stuff? I'm never going to buy these. But Julie convinced me to look through the stack anyway, and I found, for 75 cents, Mario's Time Machine Deluxe for Windows. Wow, wow, wow. So this game is pretty hard to find. It's not terribly expensive, but it's not easy to find. And because it was disc-only, I unfortunately did have to make my own stupid jewel case, and I couldn't find a Time Machine Deluxe cover art. I can only find the regular Mario's Time Machine cover art, so unfortunately this will have to have its home with the incorrect case. But I don't care too much about collecting for PC, only if I find it to be relevant to the rest of video game collecting, and this definitely is because Mario's Time Machine came out on NES and Super Nintendo also. It's an edutainment title where you play as Mario trying to return priceless artifacts to their correct historical time periods to stop Bowser from doing whatever it is Bowser wants to do with that sort of thing. It's actually sort of fun if you enjoy history, and very not fun if you are a child who thinks that this is going to be a time-traveling awesome adventure where you beat the crap out of Bowser and jump on Koopas and save the princess, because it's not that. I'm so sorry to have disappointed you. But hey, it's Mario's Time Machine Deluxe for Windows. What a great find! While Joe and I were out yard sailing this past July, we came across, signs on the side of the road, typically. We tend to use an app to locate yard sales because it's easier than just scouting around looking for signs advertising someone's yard sale. But we did see a sign outside of a local church saying that they were having a little yard sale. And it turns out, they also have a thrift store there. So they were doing a thrift store / yard sale sort of deal. So we stopped in. And there wasn't anything in the yard sale portion that we wanted. But upon walking into the thrift store, we noticed some PlayStation 1 games that were only $3 a piece, and I was able to pick up a copy of Spyro Year of the Dragon, which, I don't really know how rare it is, but hey, it's a Spyro game I didn't have, and it's in the main series. Sure, it may be the collector's edition, but I still get to play it and enjoy the crap out of it. And at $3, when I know damn well it's probably worth more than $20, I actually didn't look it up. Yeah, I'm picking that up. What's even cooler about it, though, is the disc is in very, very good condition. I don't know if you can see how freaking shiny I am, but yeah, there's almost no scratches on this thing whatsoever. Don't I look real cool? Check out the timer. You can see how long I've been recording for, which is probably not going to match what actually displays on YouTube, because I do a lot of jump cuts and edits, because I do things like this, where I just stare at you for a while. But yeah, so that was cool. Spyro Yuri the Dragon for PlayStation 1. Thanks for taking me to that yard sale / thrift store, Joe. In July, my mom and I unfortunately had to take a trip out to visit a relative who was very, very ill. And we were afraid that that was going to be the end of it because she is very elderly. But it actually turned out everything was okay. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but that's the backstory. When we were on our way home, we were, trying to de-stress because the entire day was quite a hassle. And I suggested to my mom two things, because my mom really wanted to get her nails done. And I agreed to go along with her to do that, so that she didn't have to drop me off home and we didn't have to waste time. We were spending the day together also, so it was a nice time with my mom. And I said, okay, I'll go with you to get your nails done, but come with me to pick up a game. We're in the area. Let's stop by the video game trading post, which I've talked about in this series of videos before. So we stopped by, and I picked up the Final Fantasy Legend for Game Boy with my mom. So yeah, Final Fantasy Legend. It's a game that is not supposed to be Final Fantasy, or at least it wasn't when it came out in Japan, and then when they decided to release it in America, they were like, how can we boost sales? And everyone shouted, call it a Final Fantasy game! And so Final Fantasy Legend was born. I actually haven't played it very much, so I can't really talk too much about it, but hey, it's got the Final Fantasy stamp on it. Even though it's not a Final Fantasy game. How bad could it be? Sometimes when you're at a yard sale, you'll see that someone has a ton of stuff that you're not interested in. And I typically walk directly up to the person who is, running the sale, and I ask them point blank, hey, do you have any video games for sale? Among other things that I may mention, like the older the better, or do you have any that you're willing to sell that's not out here? And, maybe they'll say no, like this guy did. And then you turn around to walk away, and you notice this. This is Tomb Raider Anniversary for Windows. And after being told no, they didn't have video games, I turned around and walked away, and ba-boom! There it was, just sitting there, the only video game at the entire yard sale. The guy wanted $2. I told him I couldn't do that because we were literally on our way home when we noticed the sign for their yard sale, and I only had $1 left. So I showed him that I physically only had a single dollar, and he said, okay, $1's fine. So for $1, I now own Tomb Raider Anniversary. Yeah, I can't really say too much about it. Growing up, I didn't play Tomb Raider a lot. I'm discovering it more as an adult, but if it's anything like the older Tomb Raiders, I'm sure it's going to be just fine. So yeah, happy about that. Here's a sad story. I went to a game store in, I want to say mid-June, that had made an oopsie, a very big oopsie actually. They labeled a very expensive game as very not expensive because they thought that it was the first game in the series by accident, and the sticker said so. I'm not going to spoil what game it was because I don't want to be made fun of about how much of a doofus this turned out to make me. But I bought it for the price of the first game in the series, because those are their prices, and if they price it wrong, I might be the nice guy to walk up and say, hey, this isn't number 1, it's actually number 2 in the series. But, that's the price they put on there, and almost anybody would do the same thing. So I bought it for the price they had displayed on it, which was significantly cheaper than number 2 in the series. Got home, it didn't work. I cleaned it, it didn't work. I brought it back and told them it didn't work. They cleaned it professionally. I brought it back home, it didn't work. I opened it up, I inspected the board, it looked good. I tried doing any sort of diagnostics I could. I put it back together, I put it back in my NES. I will say it was an NES title. It didn't work.
What you say? That you only meant well, 'cause you did. What you say?
I gave up. I went back and I said, can I get something else in its place then, please? And they said, sure, no problem. So I got Maniac Mansion, which I also needed, so I'm happy that I got this also. Maniac Mansion is a point-and-click horror/comedy game by LucasArts. Who remembers LucasArts? Everybody does, right? And yeah, Maniac Mansion. It's so much fun. A lot of people are probably more familiar with Day of the Tentacle on DOS, which was eventually re-released on Steam for modern PC. But yeah, that's the sequel to Maniac Mansion. Maniac Mansion is fantastic. It was released on a whole bunch of different home computers in the 80s, and especially the early 90s. But my favorite version is the one on NES. I used to emulate it a lot when I was first getting into collecting and wanted to see what some of these games were actually like playing. So yeah, here's Maniac Mansion. I finally have it, and unfortunately I don't have that game that I wanted instead. But I got Maniac Mansion, so we're fine. You want to go on an adventure with me? Do you want to go on a bad adventure with me? No, it's okay. You don't have to. No, don't feel bad for me. It's fine. I bit the bullet, and I was a bad man. And at a fire sale on Long Island Retro Gaming, I decided to spend very little money, although still probably too much money, to purchase a complete in-box copy of Star Fox Adventures. Who wants to go on a very crappy adventure with me? Nobody? Good. Star Fox Adventures is a game that was going to be good, but then wasn't. It took Star Fox and made it suck. It took Star Fox and made it more like Zelda, which for Star Fox sucks. It took Star Fox and made it dumb and very repetitive and very boring, which sucks. Do I like this game? Not really. Am I happy I own it? Fuck yeah! Who do you think I am? At the beginning of June, my family was cleaning out our basement because we were going to redo the walls down there. And while cleaning out the basement, I came across something I already owned, but forgot that I owned because I thought that I threw it out as a child. It's the Radio Shack TRS-80 micro color computer. With all the hookups and everything, too. Thank you, Joe, again, for finding this in a pile of rubble at the back of my basement, and I apparently didn't throw it out like I thought I did. I got this at an in-school yard sale that one of my teachers was having back in high school, before I even became a collector. And I thought it was cool, so I picked it up along with a couple other things that I wanted, and I quickly realized that I had no idea what it was, and I didn't even care about it. I just said fuck it. And I could have sworn after all this time that I had thrown it away. But I did not throw it away. So the TRS-80 micro color computer is a home computer from the 80s. And yeah, you can play video games on it. It actually has a cartridge slot right here at the back. And you can also hook up a cassette drive to play cassette games on it, as well as probably do other dumb, boring things with a mid-80s computer, like balance your checkbook or type things that you can't print because printers weren't a thing for these. But yeah, this is a computer, but it is technically a video game console because you can play video games on it, and quite a few really good games came out for this bad boy. Although this is a late model version of it, the actual computer is called just the TRS-80 color computer. So this is the micro version of it. It's a later slim model so that, people could buy it cheaper and, Radio Shack would still make some money. So yeah, color computer games, pretty good ones. Zork, for instance, that's a really good one. 1, 2, and 3 all appeared on this. And that's probably going to be the first round of games that I get for this bad boy because I don't own any right now. But I'm really happy that I already owned this computer, but I'm putting it in this video because since I thought that I lost it, this is more of an, oh, cool, I found this. Now I have it a second time. I'm happy. Are you happy? I'm happy. Do you remember that time just now when I talked about the Radio Shack TRS-80 micro color computer? Yeah? Me too. Which is good, because it'll come in handy when I talk about something I picked up at a yard sale about 2 weeks after I found it in my basement. The TRS-80 Color Computer 2 full model. How cool of a coincidence is that? And it's complete in the box. If I open this bad boy up just a little bit, because I don't want to take it out, you'll see that it comes with all of the original reading material. And just because I'm that nice of a guy, here's what the computer looks like. Woo! Yes, I did clean it up because I'm that much of a nut, but the box is in such bad condition, to be honest. I don't know if I can clean it. I tried, but it looked like it was going to fall apart if I kept going. So I'm going to keep it in its really crappy, dirty state with tape and stickers all over it because I want to make sure that it doesn't fall apart, and then my heart won't die. So yeah, this was cool. I pretty much already talked about this, considering I talked about the microcolor computer, and they both do the exact same thing. This is the second model of the original color computer, so it's got more memory, I think, is the only thing that's really different about it, and the keyboard looks cooler, and the computer as a whole looks a little bit more, ergonomic, I think. Whatever. Anyway, finding this was super rad. I found this with Joe at this one woman's yard sale, and I didn't even notice it was there. I asked her about video games. She said she didn't have any video games, so another one of these stories. So I turned around to leave, and I overheard somebody saying, "Hey, that color computer over there, how much are you asking for that? Does it work, or is it just a relic?" And, I heard the words color computer, and I immediately thought about the Tandy Coco, which is the cute little nickname for this computer. And I immediately swiveled around, and I saw the guy pointing at a table, and I followed his finger, and sure enough, this thing was just sitting there, and I didn't even notice it, because I'm an idiot. And I was like, oh no, he's asking about it. It would be very impolite, incredibly rude, in fact, of me to just swoop in and say, "I'll buy it." So I was going to turn around and leave, because he asked about it. There was no way he wasn't going to buy it. He seemed interested. She said, "Oh, yeah, it does work. Actually, we tested it just a few nights ago before we had the sale because we wanted to make sure it worked. This way we could charge a little more money for it." So again, my heart kind of sank because we're going to charge a bunch of money for this. So he goes, "Well, how much are you asking for it?" And the lady says $10. Now me, knowing already that that's a fair price, I decided to be a loser. And after this guy said, "Oh, okay, well, that's cool. I don't think I'm going to get it, though, but I hope it goes to a good home." As soon as he said that and turned around, I swooped in and I said, "You want $10 for the computer?" "Uh-huh." Would you be willing to do 5? And she said yes, right away, actually. I guess she was just eager to get rid of it. So I took it home and I tested it, and it works just like she said it did. I mean, not that I didn't trust her, but I test everything anyway. We've been over this a billion times. So that's my story, and I'm very happy that I paid $5 for this very expensive classic computer. Again, thank you for driving me to that yard sale, my good friend Joe. Alright, now that thing is in the background there, because I'm done talking about it, so it's okay if you guys look at it, let's talk about some disc-based games that I picked up at yard sales with my buddy Joe as well. So first off, we have Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Growing up, not the biggest fan of Grand Theft Auto, getting into it as an adult, which I've said about a lot of different series, but, this one rings true for that as well. And I'm actually kind of excited to play it because it was one of the games similar to San Andreas, where everybody was really, really hype about it when it first came out, and everybody and their brother and their mother and their father and their dog played this game. This game in San Andreas made the phrase, "I have all the cheat codes," a sex appeal sort of thing. So yeah, here it is. And the funny thing about it was actually, when I got home, I looked in it to make sure the disc was there, and I peeled the disc up, and as I always do, I looked at it for scratches, and then I put it back. But I guess I was just kind of like meat-handing it, because I didn't notice at the time. I only noticed when I got home. There were actually 2 discs in that case. So I actually looked at the front of the disc on top, and when I took both discs as one unit without knowing out of the case, I looked at the back of the disc underneath. Turns out, they're the same game. It's just 2 copies of Grand Theft Auto Vice City in the same case. I didn't know too much about that, so I looked it up to make sure that, it wasn't just 2 discs in one game like a lot of old PlayStation RPGs do, and it turns out, no, it's just 1 disc for the game. So there were just 2 copies, and I didn't even know. So I did my buddy Joe a solid, and just out of the kindness of my heart, I gave him a disc-only copy since he wanted it. He doesn't really care about the boxes, he just wants the games. So now we both have a copy of Grand Theft Auto Vice City. So thank you, mystery stranger, who decided to put both copies that he owned or she owned into one box. Thank you very much, actually. Remember when I said I like Tetris? Tetris is my whole worlds. I got Tetris Worlds for original Xbox at the same place that I picked up those 2 discs in one box of Vice City. I don't know much about Tetris Worlds because, well, I mean, I don't really care to find out. I just want to play some Tetris. So when I see Tetris, I pick it up. But let's read the back like I did with the next Tetris on PlayStation that one time. Tetris Worlds is everything you love about Tetris and more, with beautiful 3D graphics and 6 variations of Tetris gameplay. Hours will seem like minutes as you try to surpass your, or your friend's, best score. Sounds like fun. Sounds like hours turning into minutes. Or minutes turning into hours. Sounds like I'm going to waste a lot of time. Sounds like my life's going to be completely dwindled away on playing Tetris Worlds for original Xbox. It sounds like I made a really good decision, actually. I'm going to enjoy the shit out of this. We're sticking with disc-based games. And we're sticking with Grand Theft Auto games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everybody in the house, come on, let's drive. I know those weren't the actual lyrics. I just wanted to make a Mambo number 5 joke, and I did, because you drive in this game, and it's the 5th game in the series. Lou Bega would be proud of me, and you should be proud of me too. I already had this game for PC, but since they were only asking $1 for it, I decided to pick it up anyway for Xbox 360. I think I made a pretty good decision because most of my friends also have it for Xbox 360, so now we can play together instead of me playing all by myself like an idiot. Isn't it shiny? More games in series that I grew up not liking, but like as an adult, and it seems I seem to pick these up a lot. It seems to seem that I seem to pick these up a lot, it seems. Resident Evil 5. Now I own another Resident Evil game. My friend Andrew, who loves Resident Evil, will be very proud of me. So, this one's for you, buddy. Growing up, I used to play a lot of Fallout, and I used to play a lot of Fallout 2. But when they started to move on to console and got really weird and not very much like the old Fallout games, I kind of fell off the bandwagon, and I hadn't looked back since. Until I saw this $1 copy of Fallout New Vegas at a yard sale with Joe. Actually, it was an estate sale. So, yeah. Happy about this. I don't know if I'm actually going to enjoy it, to be honest. I didn't really like Fallout 3 too much, but I've heard good and bad things from different people, and growing up with Fallout 1 and 2 on PC, I decided this would probably be a good starting point, especially since it's only $1. Again, I checked the disc, as with everything that I pick up that's, disc, and not only is it complete with all of the manuals and everything, but the disc is in very, very good condition. So I was more than happy to pick this up. So yeah, let's rediscover Fallout together. Fallout, more like Pitfall for Atari 2600, complete in the box. Yes! Contrary to popular belief, I did not own this game before I picked it up. Not cartridge only, not box only, not manual only. The only thing that I really owned Pitfall related was this cool canteen that my buddy Sean got for me in Florida that has the image on the box on the front and the title of the game on the back. And man, I love Pitfall, and I played it a billion times on friends' consoles, and it's a very popular game, not just because people have played it, but because most people know what it is. And sorry, I was just putting that canteen back. It was one of the first, if not the first, scrolling platformer. And people who grew up with the Atari 2600 will remember this game very, very fondly because they probably owned it. Now, I have mine in a plastic protector, so it's very, very shiny on camera, but just for the sake of not hurting your eyes, I will do you the favor of taking it out while I talk about it. So yeah, Pitfall, fantastic game, but didn't own it because, again, it was one of those games that I decided, it's very common, so I can pick it up whenever. It's also not very expensive. But I was shopping at a retro game store, and happened to be one that my friend owns, And he was like, if you get it complete in the box, I'll give you a little bit of a discount on it, because I wanted to buy it cartridge only, because I noticed it there, and I was like, I should finally pick up Pitfall. I have the extra cash. I'll just get it out of my wish list. Finally. And he said, I'll only charge you a couple bucks extra if you want to get it complete in the box, because it is a very important game for your collection. And I said, you know what? Normally that would be a sleazy business tactic, but since we're buds and and I agree with you, I will do that. There is a very, very crappy yellow sticker here, but I'm not actually going to take it off, because this looks like a CVS sticker, actually. So it was possible that this was sold at a CVS back when CVS used to sell video games, way back in the before time. So I might actually just keep that sticker on there as a little relic. So yeah, I am very happy with that. It is complete in the box, but I'm not going to open it up and show you everything, because I don't want everything to fall out. And the box is in very rough shape, so I don't want it to fall apart, because I'm a loser. So this is all you're getting. But yeah, I have Pitfall. I'm very happy. As evidenced here by the fact that I wear a treble clef on my necklace, which many of you may not know because I seem not to wear it outside of my shirt a lot. I like music. And because of that, and the fact that I like video games, games like Rock Band and Guitar Hero have always appealed to me. I may not think that they're the best things in the world, but they are really good, especially if you just want to jam out and have some fun playing a game while listening to some songs, and being able to mesh the two experiences together. Going out yard sailing with my friend Julie at the beginning of July, I believe it was, or maybe it was the end of June. I really don't remember. That's kind of why I'm lumping these together, because I did so much yard sailing, everything's sort of meshing into one little lump. I went out with Julie, and we went to the first yard sale we went to that day. I found this. It's a complete... Well, I shouldn't say complete, because it is missing the game. But it's the Guitar Hero 2 red guitar controller in the box. Again, I'm not going to... You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to open this one and show you. So this was obviously pre-owned, and that's evidenced by the fact that it has all of the stickers that it originally comes with already stapled to the face of the guitar. So the body of the guitar is just covered in them, and yeah, it looks like it's actually in pretty good condition. I haven't tested it yet, but there it is. Now, it's supposed to also have the game in here, but it does not, so that makes this not complete. Oh no. But I own Guitar Hero 2 separately for PlayStation 2, so if I ever wanted to make it complete, all I have to do is just pop it in here. So yeah, that's fun. That's a fun thing. This box had a few cosmetic defects, actually, when I got it, so let's talk about that. This was all ripped up over here, and it was displaying a ton of white where the cardboard was being peeled up. So I just took a Sharpie and I drew it in, and you can kind of tell where it was. You can sort of see, but from far away, you can't tell at all that I drew in with Sharpie there, and that's kind of the thing I'm going for. There's really no other way to repair cosmetic damage of that type. It will never be perfect again, so you might as well make it at least semi-perfect. That's my view on it, at least. So yeah, that was a fun pickup, and I like fun pickups. All right, here we go. The last thing before the big behemoth pickup that I got this past month. So I went to this yard sale, and they had a whole bunch of Xbox 360 games, but really nothing that I cared for. But, Joe got to eat all that stuff up. But I noticed they had a couple of strategy guides. And I asked the guy, what would you do on these two right here? And he was like, I'll do $1. And I went, $1 each? And he goes, oh, no, just $1 for the both of them. That's fine by me. So I was able to pick up some original strategy guides for Super Smash Bros. Melee and Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker. Both of which, they're pretty good. This one is in fantastic condition. It's almost like no one has ever read this thing, which is probably true. I remember when I was a kid getting strategy guides, I would get them just for the pictures, and I would just flip through, and they never got much wear or tear because of that. But the Melee one looks like it has been thoroughly looked through. It's got creases all over the place, and it's coming apart at some of the seams. A couple of the pages are falling out, so I'll try very hard not to have that happen. But it's got cool diagrams for every fighter, and with Smash Ultimate coming out very soon, it also seems appropriate that I go back and revisit an old classic with the strategy guide for Melee. And yeah, it also has tips on how to unlock every character, because Super Smash Bros. Melee was the Smash that popularized secret characters. Even though there were secret characters in the original Smash, they were very easy to find. But not in Melee. There are some secrets. Not anymore, though. Everyone who's ever owned a GameCube and has Melee knows how to unlock all those characters. But just in case you don't, here's a way to get those secrets. Alright, so this is the part of the video where I show you the last thing that I picked up. But it's actually one big lot. And I'm doing it all together because there's a story attached to it. And yeah, it's maybe not the most exciting story in the world, but it's very exciting to me because this is the single best yard sale find of my life. So I'm going to be doing some standing, and some moving, and some grabbing, and some bringing, and some sitting, and some talking. Are you ready? Good, because here we go. First up, this is a Commodore 64. It's another home computer from the mid-'80s, and I am very, very happy to have found this. It was on my wish list, like pretty much everything else in the universe. And yeah, we went to this guy's yard sale, and there were no video game things, but I asked him, do you have anything video game related? He goes, I think I have like an Atari and some games, and some other stuff. Let me go check. I got happy, Joe got happy, he walks inside, he comes back out, and sure enough, he has a tub of stuff. One of them being an Atari 2600 with a whole bunch of games. I already had a 2600 and most of those games, so I just let Joe take the whole thing, basically. Which goes without saying, because as soon as he saw it and he asked me if I had that already, I was like, yeah, I do. He goes, I want it then. How much for it? And the guy said $30, and Joe said, that sounds completely reasonable. So Joe got the Atari 2600 with the hookups, a couple controllers, and 32 or 33 games, some of which were duplicates, and some of which I do need, so Joe is going to give those to me down the line instead. But the other tub that he had wasn't transparent like the Atari tub, which is how we knew that the Atari was in it. So I opened it up, and inside was the Commodore 64 with all the hookups, and it actually came with 4 games. It came with Pac-Man, Music Machine, Donkey Kong, which is in kind of bad condition, but I'll take it, and Centipede. And other than Donkey Kong, which took some very, very, very hard finagling to finally get to work, they all work. Donkey Kong is just a little unreliable. But that's also not where it ends. Those 4 games came in this box, which they don't belong in, but I decided to get this with the lot anyway. There's no other game in here, so unfortunately this is just a box for Adventure Creator, which is a game, again, for the Commodore 64. So that's another cool thing, but that's not where it ends either. Also in that box was this folder for documentation about the Commodore 64, which actually contains a whole bunch of documentation about some Commodore products, including the 1541C disk drive, which unfortunately was not in that lot, but that's okay, because the Commodore 1571 disk drive complete in the box was part of that lot. And yeah, it's in there. These boxes... Oh, did I just give away a spoiler? I said these boxes. This box was in terrible shape. It had tape all over it, and underneath the tape somehow was dirt, but the tape was still stuck to the boxes. So you can see some of the scars where I had to remove the tape and clean up the dirt, but unfortunately it left some scars, and I can't get rid of this permanent marker because it wants to destroy the box if I do that. So this is the best condition it's going to be in. But yeah, this is a disk drive for 5 1/4, I believe, inch floppy disks that have video games on them for the Commodore series of computers. This works with the Commodore 64. But it also works with something else that I got in that same lot. The sequel to the Commodore 64, the Commodore 128 personal computer. Another mid-80s computer that's compatible with that disk drive that plays video games. And it can play Commodore 64 games too. And it actually plays them with better resolution than the Commodore 64, so this is probably going to be my go-to. And this one looks worlds better, although it was still covered in tape and you can still see some scarring. But this is also complete in the box. Now, it's worth mentioning that one of the reasons this is the best find in the world isn't just because these things are hard to come by, they're also incredibly expensive among collectors. And I'm just proving to you guys that, yes, the computer is in there. Because of that expensive nature, because these things are worth so much money, usually you really don't find them. And when you do, they're expensive, really expensive, even at yard sales I've come across. And especially since Joe got only one console and a couple of, rudimentary games for the Atari 2600 for $30, I was worried about what this guy was going to charge for all of this cool gear. He asked me what I thought. I was hesitant to say anything because I didn't want to hit him too low, but I also wanted to, save money at the same time. So I said, honestly, I really don't know. Why don't you give me a price? And I get to see what he was working with. He pursed his lips, and he wiped his brow because it was very hot out, and he was just standing in his shadeless driveway, sweating balls, because I was wearing a black shirt with my black hair that has gray in it. And, yeah, he wipes his brow and he goes, 45? And I almost peed, but I caught myself and I remembered who I was, and I never pay the first price that people say. So I said, 35? And he said, how about meet in the middle at 40? And I said, sure, absolutely. For $40, I got the Commodore 128, the disk drive, the 1571, the Commodore 64, 4 Commodore 64 games, the Commodore 64 game box, a bunch of miscellaneous manuals and documentation for these 3 machines, as well as one machine that isn't here, and all of the necessary hookups and controllers that go with them. For $40. I'm not going to tell you how much these are all worth total. You just look it up yourself. I was flabbergasted. On the way back, I screamed bloody murder out of sheer ecstasy. Joe had to tell me to shut up. But we grabbed some food, and I grabbed a drink, and we sat down, and I went through testing them with Joe, and Joe goes, I just want to say, while you were looking through that stuff, I could tell at the way you were looking through it so fast and excitedly that it was expensive and hard to find. But you kept on the best poker face I think I've ever seen anybody have for any reason ever. I'm taking you to Vegas. So I guess that's a strength of mine. If I find a good deal and I don't want to pay a super expensive price for it, I can keep my mouth shut and let them talk first. So yeah, that's the best deal I've ever had in my life. I've had really good deals in the past, but this was fantastic. So in just these 2 months alone, I added 4 home computers to my collection, as well as a ton of fantastic games, some strategy guides, and some accessories. And it's all thanks to my buddy Joe, who was there with me mostly every step of the way, but more special thanks to my friend Julie, who came with me yard sailing, my mother, who went with me to the video game trading post, and of course all of you for continuously watching and supporting my hobby. And, I know there are a lot of you out there who have expressed interest in going video game collecting yourselves, and to that I say, please do. And if you ever want me to join you, I absolutely will. And if you're looking for something specific, even if it's something I don't already have, I will help you to get it before I get it. I'm just that type of person. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for bearing with me while I did not do a video last month for just June, and did a video for June and July instead. Next month is going to be August's video, which means it's going to be a year that I've been doing these videos, which will mark quite a big milestone in my life because this is probably the most consistent series of videos I've ever done, and it's been very important to me. And maybe that's a little too sappy, but I remember when I first started doing these videos and nobody really gave a shit, and now a year later I've had people tell me, hey, your videos look super cool, you know, maybe I can go game collecting with you so you can tell a story about me going with you. Or, hey, can I be in the video with you? And I've actually said yes to a lot of people, but they never seem to be able to find the time to appear in it. But I will get some guest stars in here eventually so we can talk about stuff and talk about stories together. And I've even been flirted with over these videos, being told I'm very cute and that I speak about my hobby with such passion that it makes that person very happy to know me. And I've gotten that twice. So, yeah, this is very important to me, and it's a very big part of my life, not just doing the videos, but doing the game collecting in general. But I'm glad that I get to bring it to you guys. So thank you so much for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic day. Get out there and go yard sailing. Give me some competition. Please don't give me some competition. But get out there and go yard sailing. You won't regret it one bit.